The gap between poverty and wealth is not financial, it is psychological. If money were the real difference, people who suddenly get rich would stay rich. But they don't, because money does not upgrade the mind, it only amplifies the operating system already there. Two people can earn the same income, live in the same city, face the same economy. Yet one keeps rising, the other keeps restarting. Not because of luck, not because of education, but because their thinking systems are incompatible. One thinks to survive, the other thinks to position. Poverty is not primarily a lack of money, it is a compression of perception. Wealth is not primarily cash. It is expanded awareness across time, risk, and leverage. Until that difference is understood, every increase in income will only increase stress, not freedom. In this video, we will break down the real psychological differences between poor thinking and wealthy thinking. Not theory, not motivation, but practical mental patterns that quietly decide outcomes. If you recognize yourself anywhere in this, do not flinch. Awareness is the first escape. Number 1, poor thinking is reactive. Wealthy thinking is anticipatory. Poor thinking reacts, wealthy thinking anticipates. This is the first and deepest divide. A reactive mind waits for pressure before acting. An anticipatory mind moves before pressure arrives. Poor thinking responds to life. Wealthy thinking positions ahead of it. For example, poor thinking says, "I'll start saving when I earn more." Wealthy thinking says, "If I can't control small money, large money will expose me." Same income, different psychology. One delays responsibility, the other trains discipline early. Another example, when rent increases, fuel prices rise, or the economy tightens. Poor thinking asks, "How do I survive this month?" Wealthy thinking asks, "What system failed that allowed this to shock me?" One searches for relief, the other searches for redesign. Poor thinking treats crises as fate. Wealthy thinking treats them as feedback. You cannot build wealth in defense mode. Defense preserves, it does not expand. Number 2, poor thinking seeks relief. Wealthy thinking seeks leverage. Poor thinking wants relief. Wealthy thinking wants leverage. This distinction explains why many people escape poverty briefly but never permanently. Relief psychology asks, when does the pressure stop? So money becomes a sedative for stress, a reward for endurance, a tool to escape discomfort. That is why poor thinking spends emotionally. Not because things are needed, but because they soothe psychological tension. Leverage psychology asks, how do I reduce future effort and increase future control? So money becomes a seed, a system, a force multiplier. The wealthy thinker does not ask, can I afford this? They ask, does this purchase improve my future position? For instance, poor thinking, I deserve enjoyment. Wealthy thinking, what asset does this enjoyment create? Relief spending feels good today, but quietly mortgages tomorrow. Leverage spending feels heavy today, but buys silence, space, and options later. If this is exposing patterns you recognize, do not ignore them. Subscribe to Psyconance. This channel is not here to motivate you. It is here to reprogram how you think about power, money, and control. Number 3. Poor thinking is short-term. Wealthy thinking is temporal. Poor thinking lives in the present. Wealthy thinking lives across time. Poor thinking asks, how much is it? How long will it take? How hard is it right now? Wealthy thinking asks, what does this cost over 5 years? What does this habit compound into? What future version of me does this decision create? Another instance, poor thinking. I don't have time to learn this. Wealthy thinking. I can't afford to be replaceable. So one remains dependent, the other becomes scarce. Poor thinking chooses comfort and familiarity. Wealthy thinking chooses trajectory and standards. Environment shapes identity, and identity determines income ceilings. Small poor decisions leak power slowly. Small wealthy decisions stack inevitability. Most people misjudge compounding because they only measure results, not direction. Number 4. Poor thinking is identity-driven. Wealthy thinking is role-driven. Poor thinking asks, how do I feel about this? Wealthy thinking asks, what does my role require? Poor thinking clings to identity. That's not me. I'm not good with money. I'm not lucky. Identity becomes a cage. Wealthy thinking separates self from function. They ask, what would a competent person do here? What decision increases control, not comfort? They do not wait to feel ready. They act into readiness. Poor thinking avoids responsibility because it feels heavy. Wealthy thinking accepts responsibility because it expands authority. Number 5. Poor thinking seeks validation. Wealthy thinking seeks results. Poor thinking wants to be seen. Wealthy thinking wants to be positioned. Poor thinking filters decisions through, what will people say? Wealthy thinking filters decisions through, will this work even if nobody claps? Poor thinking performs success. Wealthy thinking delays display, results silence critics, time reveals truth. Position outlasts popularity. Number 6. Poor thinking blames environment. Wealthy thinking studies it. Poor thinking says, the system is against me. This country is hard. Wealthy thinking says, given this environment, where are the gaps? This is not denial. It is refusal to surrender agency. Wealthy thinkers study incentives, rules, behavior, and bottlenecks. They do not complain about systems. They learn how systems reward behavior. Number 7. Poor thinking avoids discomfort. Wealthy thinking trains it. Poor thinking sees discomfort as danger. Wealthy thinking sees discomfort as tuition. Comfort is expensive. Discomfort, used correctly, is an investment. Wealthy thinking manufactures pressure because pressure reveals capacity. If this changed how you see money, effort, and control, subscribe to Psyconance. This channel is about mental architecture, the kind that outlives motivation and outperforms luck. Poor thinking is not stupidity. It is untrained perception. Wealthy thinking is not greed. It is disciplined foresight. Money follows thinking, not intention, not hustle, not desire. Change the psychology and the results will have no choice but to follow.